My good man. So as you all know, every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, I like to bring on a trader and ask them questions about their trading, about their life, their background, their history, give you an introduction on who this person is so that everyone kind of knows a little bit more about this particular person, but also get some takeaways, learn some things, and get some insight. And I know I've known Marc now for, believe it or not, man, it's been 6.5 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
For a really long time. So tell everyone a little bit about your story, man. How'd you get involved in trading?
Well, it basically started from, I call it one of my biggest failures, best lessons ever is I'm a pretty impatient person. So I wanted to obviously bring in some more income into my lifestyle with the daughter being born and the wife. So I went into and jumped into a real estate investing class, and that didn't really turn out well. So because of that, I was like, oh, what can I do on my own, which doesn't involve anybody else, where I can try to make some supplemental income? And lo and behold, it ended up being trading. So I started searching the internet for some education, and that's when I stumbled onto your classes, actually, back then.
Gotcha. Okay, so the real estate classes, was it just like a seminar, or was it one of those really big like presentations where they try to get you into—
Well, I don't want to quote the person that was supporting it, but there was a famous person supporting it. You know, they get you to come on the weekend. It's not like it wasn't informative. I think my mentality wasn't there yet to do, because I actually do real estate investing now, but I actually, I think my mentality was more so I wanted quick money quick, and I didn't want to put the time in, right? So it's not to say that the information was horrible, but basically, long story short, what they charged for the information was horrible, because the information you could find easily online, things like that, is what I would say.
I can appreciate that. And that's interesting that you mentioned the word mentality. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But when you first started trading, what was your first go-to strategy? What did you learn? What did you try?
So my background is I'm actually an engineer. And I'm sure you've ran into engineers, and what we tend to do is overanalyze everything. So my biggest struggle with trading was figuring out what to use, when to use, how to use it, and be consistent. And I actually didn't realize that struggle until I actually had my biggest hit. So I actually blew out an account. I don't even think you know this, Jeremy. So I blew out an account. I was doing 2 standard deviation credit spreads over earnings.
Okay.
So yeah, and I was going big. I was doing 10 lots. And I was like, oh man, this is easy, right? And then all it does is take one, and it was Google. I think October of 2017 or something like that. It missed bad, or I don't even know if it missed or gained bad, but whatever it was, it went over the 2 standard deviation and long hold. I killed 50% of my account at that point. So, then that's when the emotions kicked in, and then the fear of failure and all that stuff. So I went through a big drawdown, and I eventually blew that account out. So actually, that was another great mistake, because I don't think I would have realized if I kept winning or kept doing well. I don't think I would have had the real trader's mentality if that never happened. And I learned a lot of things because of that. I realized that I need to be, slow like the turtle, turtle versus the rabbit, and slow and consistent is better than fast and quick, right? So to get back to the moral of the story, I actually stopped looking at things that help me trade, and I started looking more at my mentality. So I started doing a lot of self-development and a lot of mind psychology type stuff for like a year and a half. So a year and a half, 2 years basically. And I'm still doing that now. I don't even look at different indicators or anything like that. It's all trading psychology type thing. And to sum it up to kind of something that like really just was the nail in the head for me, there was this little, I don't know if you heard of Mind Muscles Academy or whatever, but I stumbled on like one of their things. And the biggest thing, they had us do this exercise where basically you have a grid and you got 10 choices or whatever, and you get to pick heads or tails, right? And if you pick correct, you get, I think it was +2, it might have been +3. And if you pick wrong, you get -1, right? I think you kind of know where this is going. So then basically I was like, oh, well, I can only control one thing. I could pick heads or tails. So why not just pick heads the whole time? I.e., that's my plan. And I should at least get 50%. If it's 50%, then, 50% of those I'll get +3 and 50% I get -1, right? So, after that was done, obviously I had a positive number because it was 50%. And then even when I was losing, I'm like, oh, I already know the probability of me getting it right is 50%. So actually, I think my odds of me actually being successful are probably higher now that I've lost like 3 or 4 in a row or whatever. But it never it was more so the bigger picture than each trade, right? So that kind of opened my eyes towards like what I need to do, right? I need to obviously risk less and to make more, so like a 3-to-1, obviously, and then just be consistent with my process, just have a plan. So then that kind of started my journey towards the day trading, and more so day trading too, because my personality too is I am impatient, as I said earlier. So me holding something for days just makes me overanalyze everything because I'll look at it, relook at it, and that is the worst thing. And the reason why I was doing semi-okay with the earnings thing is because there's nothing you can do once you put the trade on. It's on and it works and it doesn't.
Right.
So honestly, what I do when I trade futures, what I actually do now is I set my order in and I leave. So I have an automatic trailing stop that I'm happy with. That was the one thing I had to find I was happy with. But basically, it's got to go like 4 points in my direction before my stop moves anywhere. So and then it moves accordingly. But yeah, I had to do that because if I look at the charts, I'm going to overanalyze, relook at things, and screw things up. So that keeps me consistent.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's strong though, because what you did is you used your personality and you knew what, it's a strength and a weakness. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Use it to your advantage. So, okay, you don't like holding because if you hold, you overanalyze. So let's day trade, let's get in and out. And you mentioned now that you trade almost primarily only futures.
Yeah, I do futures and I do some, I dibble and dabble on some Nadex. More so I do Nadex because it is a little bit more room for, for mistakes. And I use Nadex mostly when I'm like counter trending, when I think there's a counter trend coming up. I always day trade futures in the main bigger trend just to keep it that way because I at least have momentum on my side, I feel. And I kind of adapted my own little style too. That was another thing too. I kind of tell people like trading is the best psychiatrist I ever had, right? Because it kind of really understands like who I am, like what I need to do, what I can. The other bigger thing was what can I do every day that wasn't a burden too. Because there were, I would listen to different people that do this, they do that. I'm like, man, I don't want to do that every day. Like honestly, can I really do that every day? So I had to find something that I could like comfortably do every day. So that was another big thing for me.
Totally. Something that matched your schedule.
Yeah. Not even schedule. It's just like I'm I'm actually, and this is something that probably everybody can do. I like getting up really early. I'm in California. So I love getting up early. So I get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Okay. And I actually have my straight trading strategy is basically, the opening range, right? Usually people look at the opening range. So I look at the opening range for the London, the U.S. session and the traditional 6:30 my time, 9:30, whatever range. And I have the one indicator I do use just kind of highlights the first 2 hours or so. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of puts that across the whole time axis because then, like for example, today it's like if everything's trading within that little zone, I don't want any part of it because I know that's just a whole bunch of traders going back and forth. So I try to trade outside of those ranges for the day. So, for example, for like today, the first 27.24 was like my level because it was outside of all that range and the trend was up. So I just put my order in for 27.24 and left it alone.
That's
came back. Yeah. So then came back, still done.
It's that easy.
Well, like I said, it's just like flipping a coin. And the thing too, I know, Marc Douglas in the zone, listen to some of those things. And you kind of, the sad part and the truth is you can't control your outcome, right? It either works or it doesn't work. So why be so complicated about it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you never know. Like somebody could come in or some big money guy could come in, put some order in, screw your trade up. Who knows? Whatever the case may be. So all you can do is just control what you can do, you know, and then just keep doing it.
Makes tons of sense. So in this situation, if you're getting in at 2.724, which is outside the range at the support on the E-minis, where would your stop have been?
I do 3-point stops always.
Always a 3-point stop, no matter what.
Always, no matter what. That's so my ATM strategy is 3 points. So, and like I said, the way it works is so, you know, on the VIX when the VIX is high, I try to go for 20 points. And then the VIX is low, I say low, like around 15, 16, I go for 10 points. And then it has to move for the 10-point template. It has to move at least 4 points for my stop to move 1 point, you know, give a little bit of room. Then it gets to about, I think it's about 80% of our profit, so around 8 points will move to about 5 points profit, and then so forth. So
gotcha.
I found that works pretty well.
Now, what
I usually get the 10 points.
Do you use to set all that up? Is it Sierra charts?
I do Ninja Trader.
Okay.
CQG.
Yep.
I do CQG, and actually now that I'm pretty stable, I've been doing my own money for a little bit, and then now I'm like this is kind of an ego thing now. I'm doing the combine. Sure. I just started to try to do the combine so I could like say, hey, yeah, I can get through step 1, step 2, and just make myself feel good about it. But yeah. And you know, who doesn't want to trade other people's monies too? Yeah, you know, that too. So, but yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So like, I'm always still trying to, and then the biggest thing that I've starting to realize lately too, because you don't want to be, I call myself, I always want to be at a 0. So I always try to record. I'm getting really good at this year. My theme is consistency. And so I actually journal not only my trades and my stats and all that stuff. I actually have a separate like old school pencil and paper. And I kind of just write down my emotions because I always want to be at a 0. I don't want to be too excited and I don't want to be too negative, because when you're too excited, you're too cocky. When you're too negative, it's just everything's bad, right? So I try to journal like how I feel about things and know where I need to stay neutral, because I don't want to be anywhere but neutral on how I feel, sensations, emotions, and thoughts, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
So when you're setting that up, is that before you do the trade, after you do the trade? Where are you making that journal?
All the time. Like if I just kind of monitor my thoughts, like, you know, your inner talk, right? If your inner talk saying, if I ever think like, oh, I don't think this is going to work, well, I got to write that down. Like, why am I thinking this? And then actually what it actually does is twofold, because while I'm writing it down, like again, I have analysis by paralysis. While I'm writing it down, I'm not doing anything with my position. What I used to do is, and you can always find something to either work for your trade or go against your trade when you're in a trade, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to do any of that. Even if I'm wrong, I want to get stopped out, right? So what I do is I write these emotions down, which takes away my attention from what's actually happened with the trade. And then I actually notice what I'm doing, and then I let the trade just work itself out. So, more instances than none, my trade actually ends up working. But when it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm just happy that I just, you know, let it run.
Wow, I love it. So I mean, you're talking a lot about mindset, which is wonderful. Tell us, and you mentioned Marc Douglas, Trading the Zone. Do you have any other good books that you would recommend that deal with that subject?
Actually, a book that I'm trying to, I need to actually read. I fell off of the reading thing, but the Moment Between Dog and Wolf, I think I keep hearing about that book, and I feel like that's the next book I need to read. I hear that's a good one for mentality. I don't know if you heard of that one. Have you?
Never, but I'm writing down right now.
Yeah, that's the one that keeps coming up, like more instances than none. So
okay,
that's my next book. But I've actually just been doing a lot of. There's a behavioral psychology all over the place on the internet. So I kind of like listen to that stuff because while I'm at work, I actually do a lot of self-development while I'm at work because I can listen to things while I'm doing stuff. So I haven't been able to like actually physically read a book, and I'm horrible at audiobooks. So I don't know what it is. For audiobooks, I just like lose the attention span. But when it's like a webinar where I can physically like watch it, I pay attention.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Makes sense. The Hour Between Dog and Wolf.
Yeah, here, actually, give me 2 seconds. There's a few books that I just wrote down that I'm going to check out that are all about this books. The Book of Not Knowing by Peter Ralston's another one. And then The Hour Between Dog and Wolf, John Coates.
All right. Give me. I'm writing. I take all book recommendations. I don't get
Yeah.
to them right away, but it's like I will get to them.
Yeah, these are on my list too.
Yeah.
So
What was the other one?
the Book of Not Knowing,
The book.
Peter Ralston.
Knowing. Okay.
Then I got two more, Super Trader by Van Tharp.
Yep. Well, that's a great one.
You read that one? Okay.
Yeah.
And then The Daily Trading Coach by Brett Steenbarger.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So those are the books.
Okay. No, those are good ones. So we have The Daily Trader by Brett. I forget his last name. How do you pronounce it? Yep.
Brett Steenbarger. S-T-E-N. Yeah. B-A-R-G-E-R.
Gotcha. All right. Taking some notes. And Van Tharp, and that's the guy who the R method belongs to him.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, those are the books that are on my list. And I ordered that book, the Super Trader one. So that's probably the next one I'm actually going to read. But I keep hearing about the Dog and Wolf one. I'm like, man, I kind of take things as fate, right? If people keep talking about something like that, I'd probably take note of that.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. Beautiful. Okay. Well, those are some great book recommendations. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Number two, talking about going back to your trading, what time frame are you using? So when you're doing the opening range, is that a 15-minute, 5-minute, 3-minute?
So on my indicator pretty much blocks off, it puts in color the first 2 hours of the London session, which is around, I think my time is 11 to 1. But I don't trade that time. I just want to see that lit up when I wake up. So I get up about 4 in the morning. So from 4 to 6 is when the U.S., I call it like the New York Open. And then 6:30, which is 9:30 Eastern time, is the opening range, the traditional one. So I try to get in a trade in that first 2 hours right before open. I mean, obviously that's not the case if it's not my level that it's at. So in this case today, my level didn't come till later, and I just set the order in and left. So, yeah, so it depends so I don't have a consistent time frame where I'm actually entering a trade and getting out of a trade. I just set up based off of those zones basically. And then I look at the higher level to give me what the overall trend is.
What's the higher levels at daily, hourly?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I don't know what it is, but I just love the 4-hour chart. I know a lot of people use daily, but I'm like, I don't know why. I just like the 4-hour chart. It just rings to me a little bit more. And actually, now I use the 4-hour chart and I kind of put on I don't know if you ever had the Hike and Aishi candles, because they're green and red. It just makes it easier for me to like, okay, we're trending up because it's green. And then, if it's like the candles are small and it's red, we could be confounding or whatever. So I guess it's easier for me to just see real quick.
Yeah, Haishinaki, I've been practicing those a little bit more. They are quite interesting. They'll keep you in a trade longer, but but it's not the real price of what it actually
exactly.
is.
Yeah, I think that's all I care about though. I don't need the real price for what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I just kind of want to look to see what the general direction is, for my day trade.
Totally. So through November, December, how was your trading? Did you get whipsawed a lot, or did you have to adjust your stop size, or how did you feel during that, like, the pretty turbulent market back then?
All right. So December, I'm actually going to tell you by looking at my log. Actually, I did not trade much in December because I just didn't. So I actually, December, I didn't do much. It wasn't really because of the volatility, but I will tell you that when the volatility did get pretty high, actually, I took a couple trades. I actually changed my, I still have a 3-point stop, but I actually, I did the 80, the 20-point template, which is the 80 ticks. Mm-hmm. I always measure things by ticks, not dollars. I just based it off of ticks, and I never actually look at like the actual amount. I don't know, that's a psychology thing for me too. So I just talk in ticks. And so I was going for 80 ticks. And then what I would do when the volatility is higher, I would actually wait more so for the confirmed change in the direction and then get in. because, when things are volatile, once it starts moving, it starts moving. So I just waited for that move more so. And then when the volatility started going down, when the VIX got around about, around the 17, 16 level, I went back to the 10, to the 40 ticks or whatever. And then just had my levels and just played off my levels. Went back to normal.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean, when you're playing in that direction, I mean, with the volatility, do you trade at any other times during the day?
Nope. I go to work. So I set my order on and I leave. So except for today because I knew we were doing an interview, so I'm still at home right now. But yeah, but normally I just take off. And then I got to take my daughter to school and stuff. So that's I just set my order, set it where if it's not where I want it to be, I just set it. And some days I don't even get filled, right? So I come back around. So West Coast time, I come around back noon, which is like an hour before the market close. So just in case something crazy happens. But so I usually come back home, check out what's going on. And if I don't get filled, I just take the order off.
Right. Gotcha. What has been your worst trade during this learning, like during this most recent trading experience, and why? What happened?
To be honest, my worst trade have been not taking trades. I've been I sometimes overanalyze myself to get out to like not even do anything, and it was actually killing me for a while. I'd go like weeks around the October, November frame where I wouldn't do anything because I was just psyching myself out. And that's when I was like really working on my mentality. Like again, getting into in the zero zone where I wasn't too cocky or too fearful. And it's like, I had to really re-look at the Mark Douglas stuff and realize that I have no control. Like not getting into a trade just means I'm trying to predict the future, right? And I don't know the future, so if it's going to work or not. So I know as long as I put my trade on, I'm going to get stopped out, most likely at 3 points, right? So so I just do it as that. It's like I pick my point. Sometimes, to be honest, I actually put my trades on and then I realized that I didn't quite follow my process to a T. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So be it, right? So I'm just trying to more so work on, and I call those trades, actually, I mark those as failed trades. If I win, that's because it's not about the outcome. It was more so about my process. So even if it did go well or something like that, I say that's a failed trade because I need to follow. I want to be consistent with my process. I call it failed and lucrative. Yeah, failed and lucrative.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many times will that really come up, though? I mean, is it frequent?
No, not it. The more now that I've been tracking it, ever since I've been tracking it, not really. I've started tracking really well since it's been like a year now. And I can look to see like my failed trades were pretty plentiful in the beginning, and then I took like a break. The part where I was saying a break was when I was being fearful of entry, so I literally just watched my stuff go by. Is when I realized that I have no control over the outcome. I need to really focus on that fact, and once I understood that truly, then that's when I just took everything that came.
Interesting. So how'd you get comfortable losing that? I mean, was it something that was just a small amount of money that you did it over and over? Did you give to charity? How'd you build that into your brain where like, hey, this is cool, no big deal, I'm losing, it's fine?
Well, I think the mentality that I don't think of trading as the outcome of monetary is irrelevant to me, is what made me comfortable with it, because I'm more so in the business of being consistent with my process. All that other stuff is just a residual effect, right? And then also I start, some other stuff with self-development. I start to realize that, money is just energy, right? So the more positive energy you put out there, more positive, you'll get. So, and I start thinking like that. And then also the fact that I'm adding value, the mentality of like, I'm actually adding value to the market. That's why I actually get a positive return is when I'm pushing the market back to fair value, because it's the whole auction theory, right?
Yeah.
So, when I start thinking like that, that's when it became more like easier for me to just do what I had to do, basically.
That's
and then I do,
great way to think about it.
And I do actually, I do little rewards to myself when if I have like 20 lucrative trades in a row. Lucrative, again, remember, not actually profitable, right? So I'm following my process. I follow that more so than the monetary outcome.
No, the process is key, man. I think that's a great thing, to reward the process, not necessarily the outcome. Because like you mentioned, the outcome is we have no control over that, but we do have control over when we get in, how much stop we place, when we get out, if we took the trade, if we didn't take the trade, why we didn't take the trade if we didn't. Like, you're absolutely right. It's just that process. And
not taking a trade, by the way, is failed for me now as well. So when I start doing that and then I'm racking up the failed, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not even doing anything. You know, so so that was
reward yourself for the good. Do you punish yourself for the bad?
Yeah, so I do a lot of I do some random things, like things that I really don't want to do, but I do extra of it, like push-ups, or when I'm working out, or I'll not watch my favorite show or something like that, or I'll just take something that's on my daily routine away for a while.
Yeah.
That forces me to like kind of think more.
Right.
You know, right. So mostly taking away my show, which gets me to start doing stuff, is the most effective.
What's the show?
Well, I have a lot of shows. So lately, you know, it's Gotham right now. Anything that's I've watched, me and my wife watching this show like The Affair on Showtime, Shameless. I got a lot of random shows. So, but yeah, taking those away kill me, because I'm like, oh, I want to know what happens next, you know, but I can't.
What's the reward?
The reward, usually dinner, things I like to do. I'll probably buy me like some new pair of shoes. I need new indoor shoes, some Michigan basketball shoes or something like that. Things that, it goes in line with what I'm going to normally do, but then I'm make it extra special or something like that. Or actually my biggest thing too is, I really like small little office gadgets. I think you saw too, I redid my desk. Like that was a reward to myself. Yep. Was like to reconfigure my desk, and like, because I did that, now I feel like extra like professional. So it's got a like secondary like motivation for me, because now when I see my vertical monitor set up, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good.
I'm a real boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Do you only trade the E-minis? Is that the only feature that you trade?
That was another one of the things I decided to do that I felt like it was kind of deterring me on my progress. Is it's very easy to get sucked into. I mean, I have a coworker that's a crude trader, and talking to him every day, it's like, oh, I should trade crude, but I want to stay focused and just feel real good about, you know, what I'm doing with the E-mini. I was getting sidetracked for a while doing Nadex with other markets too. That's another thing. I just stick with the E-mini for right now. And then I just I feel like I'll know. When I know that I can move on to or add another market. But right now, I'm just staying focused on the E-mini.
Well, man, that's all I do. That's all I'm trading, is just a E-mini.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like I don't have the time span too, right? I just said I got to work still, right? So it's not my whole gig right now. So yeah.
Alex is asking in the chat pane, did you try Renko bars versus Haishinaki, or do you have any thoughts on those?
I did not try Renko bars. I actually had for a minute I was doing range bars. I don't know if that's even the same or different, but I just stuck with Heikin-Ashi I've been doing Heikin-Ashi for about 6 to 7 months, so it's not like I've been doing it forever. But I found that it just made me quickly easier to determine which way, you know, the momentum was going. I just want something to make it simple for me to see.
Now, did you program this into like a bot or anything, or are you still doing all this manual?
What? So the only thing I've programmed was, so for my ATM strategy on NinjaTrader, I had it set up so I don't know where I heard this, but this guy was like, oh yeah, if you're a profit such and such, you know, when you get halfway, take 20% of what your ultimate target. So I kind of was playing around with what actually works. So for a while I was just manually doing it. But again, when I was manually doing it, I feel like that human part wouldn't make it consistent for me. So I need to figure out something where I could just hit the button and everything, works out the way it's supposed to work out. And then I didn't want to, most people, I think the generic thing is to just take, a lot of people just want to say, just take the 3 points and just let it hit or whatever. But my thing was, when I'm playing with those ranges, you get a lot of the consolidation, right? And I'm thinking if something goes all the way 5 points or 4 points, getting stopped out at 1 point, I don't have any problem with. Like, I can accept that, right? Because it already went 4 points. It should have just at least stayed around there. So I kind of accepted that mentality-wise, and so then I just worked off of that, and put that into my ATM strategy. So once I had the ATM strategy, that's the only thing I have that's kind of automated.
Okay.
Everything else is just default Thinkorswim stuff. I use Thinkorswim and NinjaTrader. So Thinkorswim I use for just looking at my charts. This new thing or lately that I've been looking at, but doesn't really help me at all. I just kind of like looking at it because it's pretty. There's these volumetric bars on NinjaTrader where you can see like the volume within each 5-minute bar. But I don't do anything but look at it.
Gotcha. I love that. And if anyone else has any questions, let me know. Anu is asking, what is the E-minis on Interactive Brokers? I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can find it. It's
the symbol?
Yeah.
/ES probably. Or something.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, /ES on IB.
Because for NinjaTrader, it's just ES and the contract expiration, right? So it's ES 03-19 right now.
Yeah, it's
maybe something like that.
Some type of.
It's ES for sure, something.
Yeah, exactly. Some kind of ES somewhere. I have a trader asking about volume profiles. Do you have any thoughts on those?
So again, I'd been using the volumetric bar. I think the volume profile is basically where it shows like the histogram, that thing. Is that what he's talking about? Or
I believe so.
Yeah, so I actually used that, or I don't use it, but I actually was looking at that for a while, and I think it's helpful just to give you a sense of where all the trading is occurring at, because, again, I try to stay out of that area because I feel like that's where most of the buying and selling, the fair price is what I call it, right? Auction theory. So it's like if you're trying to put in entries around that part where your volume is, at the peak, then I think that could be a little dangerous because it could be buyers or sellers. So, how do you know which way it's going to go, right? But if you do it where, there's not that much volume, most likely I kind of had that return to mean version type thing for intraday. Like it's like it probably might revert back to that way. So I kind of would look at it for that. On that note too, I actually use I do have the 4-hour chart, and I also have next to it the monkey bar chart to show that type of thing, right? It shows where most of the like volume or the time is at, just because I want to stay away from those areas.
I do like NinjaTrader. It's a really great platform. And Alex is asking, do you send your trade from Ninja to TD, or who's the clearing?
It's CQG or CGQ.
CQG or CGQ?
Actually, I trained. Actually, it was CQG, and now I'm doing the NinjaTrader broker. Actually, I switched. I forgot I did that last year. I'm NinjaTrader broker, so they have their own brokerage and stuff now because it was cheaper fees.
Okay, makes sense. So the commission's pretty reasonable?
Yeah, I think it's like $1.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
Do you find
again, like I said, I just recently I traded or changed over, and this year, beginning of this year, I'm doing the combine now. So my trades are going through that for right now. So that's not even real money right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to pass the combine.
Right. Here's a personal question. So your daughter, what is if she grows up and doesn't want to go to college and wants to trade full time? What do you tell her?
No, I think she can do whatever she wants. I'm actually a big caveat actually going through the whole. Luckily for me, I never paid for school, so I was fortunate there. But depending on what you really want to do in life, if you want to be a doctor, then you probably got to go to school, right? But if you want to, be some type of entrepreneur, then obviously that takes skills that aren't really necessarily learned in the classroom. So I'd be all for it.
Yeah, makes sense, man. So what's the dream for you for work? Do you love your job? You're going to stay there for a while? You're going to retire? What's the plan with all that?
So what I am doing, another thing that I feel like I'm a little bit fortunate about is none of my supplemental income is used for me. I'm actually putting my winnings into real estate. Ultimate goal is to build a portfolio, if that's equivalent to the income I make here. My wife, she says she really loves her job, so we'll see when the point where I get to where I don't need to work and see if she wants to follow along, and because I want to travel and do some things. I'm sure she does too. So the ultimate goal is, once I get to that point, enjoy life a little bit more, travel, show my daughter some things, culture a little bit.
Absolutely. What type of real estate are you doing now?
I just buy and hold. So like just buying properties. I'm from Michigan, so buying properties in the Midwest because a little bit cheaper. Get a good return on my investment. Have my renters basically pay down that and get equity in the property and rinse and repeat until I get to a point where I'm happy, I guess. I don't know. I'll probably do that forever. Actually, most people I talk to that have multiple properties out here, they end up just going from single family. Right now, I'm just doing single family. They go to multifamily, and it all depends. When I get there, what I want to do with it.
I love it, man. So what about your, as far as your contract size, is that something that's is going to continually increase over time? How do you determine when to increase your amount of contracts?
Yeah. So that's a good question because that is yet to be determined because a couple of years ago when I was overly cocky and I was doing pretty well with the futures thing, I increased my contract and it screwed me. I don't know what my mentality was just not ready.
You decreased
I guess. I increased my contract.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And I actually obviously went back and decreased it because there was a subtle nuance, I guess, in my mentality that changed, and the two contract thing kind of messed me up. So I actually am still on back to one contract. Well, again, I'm doing the combine. I was doing two contracts, just doing the exact same thing. I guess I was trying to do too much variables. So that's one thing I got to revisit when I'm ready. I'm doing it now based off a percentage of my account when I'll be ready for two contracts. I think I made the jump too early because I knew that psychology-wise, it wasn't the same percentage I was risking for account size.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, like I said, it's valid to know where that block is because we're all going to hit that barrier at some point where something changes, and that's okay. For a while. Keep doing it. You brought up earlier a very key word, slow and steady.
Yeah.
Do it. If you can't get rich slowly, you're not going to get rich quickly.
Right. Yeah, the one guy I heard too on one thing was saying something too. Some people have, and maybe I have that, I don't know. I got to figure out if I do, but some people have a income level barrier too, right? They get so high in income, they subconsciously sabotage themselves because they only think they're worth like, $300,000 or something like that, right? So then they can't get over that hump because they got that block or something. You got to figure out where that comes from.
Exactly. So true. I mean, that's something that I've studied and practiced and worked and dealt with a little bit because we all have. I mean, everyone has a mental money barrier of some kind.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what it is. There's something always there. And we just have to try to find out what it is and slowly peel them away and, like you said, just attack it from there. But that's awesome, man, that you're sharing that with us. I appreciate you being so open and vulnerable and honest with all of us. And again, if anyone has any questions for Marc, feel free to throw them in there. One other quick question that I have, just in regards to, your trading, is like just the taxes. Like, are you trading? Like, how do you do it? Do you have a CPA handle that? Do you just pull out the money? What's putting it right?
That's actually the one thing I did right in the beginning. I actually have I don't know if you heard of this company called Carithers Accounting. They just help traders and do their accounting. They actually I have a C Corp that they set up for me way back when. It was the first thing I ever did. And then, so they do my taxes and, I put the appropriate amount away automatically into an account. So when, taxes are due and, the money's already there. So I have a C Corp. They set it up. So all the money that I make or whatever is through that, and they take care of all that stuff. I use QuickBooks to keep track of all the expense, all that stuff. So
super helpful. Great company too. Traders Accounting, really useful. Again, that's I think that, like you said, setting that up in the right way. I mean, when you were doing it in the early years, even if you weren't profitable, do you feel like that still helped or made sense? Was it able to?
I think it's better just to do it even when you're not making money, because mentality-wise, I was treating my trading as a business, right? From the jump, it wasn't a hobby. I think making that like distinction from the beginning just made more sense, and it made me more serious about it than just saying I'm just a trader. But when I say I have an actual business, that's investment business, it just made more sense. I think I think people take things more seriously when you do it that way.
Very good point. A lot of people, a lot of books, mentors, they'll talk about treat your trading as a business, and that's a great way to do it. I actually have a legit business.
Exactly.
Set up where you're reporting everything's run through. That's great, man. I love it. One other question, I mentioned one other moment ago, but when you're talking about the psychology of the charts and the candlesticks and things like that earlier on, what helped you see that? Did you do a lot of back trading, back testing? What helped you build or make that revelation of the people's emotions and sentiments?
So I did do a lot of back testing, but the thing that sucks is the intraday. So I was able to figure out how to do that on NinjaTrader, I think a year ago, and I did do some back trading and things like that. But the problem was I didn't have the indicator that I use, because the indicator's on Thinkorswim. So I'd have to literally set up the horizontal line, on the time frames I was looking at, and then I found the color region thing on the NinjaTrader, so then that helped me. So I did do some back testing, but honestly though, the thing was, when you're back testing, for me, I knew it wasn't real, so I didn't treat it real thing. So I had to actually just suck it up and just do it, because what my mentality too is, if I back test too much, and then I start doing, or I'll do sim trading too much, then I would just get used to I'm a routine type person, right? So then I would just routinely just always sim trade. So I had to just knock that off and just, go for broke and just go.
Do it. Yes. Just do it. Make it happen.
Yeah. So I got the quote, do it anyway, is on my screen. So it's cause it's just forcing me to just do it, because I could back test all day. It's still not the same to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it's not. It's not. You have to practice to make it as real as you can, and it is. A lot of people will make money virtually, but won't make money in real trading. And there is definitely
you don't know what a
distinction there.
Yeah, you don't know what emotions are going to come up when it's for real. So that was the big thing.
I love it. Words of wisdom. I'm a boy, Marc Carithers. Are you still over in the LA area?
Yes, I am in Redondo Beach.
I love it, man. Awesome. Well, the interesting thing is, next week I'll be interviewing the guy that we hung out with last time we were there, Felix. So he'll be here on Wednesday.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm just doing my LA tour right now. But anyway, man, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. Great insight. A lot of really wonderful takeaways. So I just want to say thank you for spending your time with us, my friend. It's always an honor and privilege to catch up with you.
No problem, Newsom. Anytime, man.
All right,
hopefully we'll come visit you soon.
Yes.
I'm trying to get the wife to see. I never met my daughter. Oh, you did meet my daughter.
Yes.
So that's good. So yeah.
No, hit me up anytime, my friend. We got a place for you to stay right here in Nashville.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right, brother. You rock.
All right.
See you.
See you.
That's the man right there, folks. Mr. Marc Carithers. Great person. Love hanging out with that dude. He's great at basketball, too. And we've hung out a few times. Almost every time I go to LA, I try to hit up Marc. Some good book recommendations, a really clear plan, a lot of takeaways. Again, for all of the subscribers at Real Life Trading, I do my absolute best to have an interview every single week. I know sometimes people might think it's not trading, but there's always something that we can learn from someone. There's always one key takeaway. There's always one interesting viewpoint that we can gain. And as long as we can do that, it is always worth our time to invest in ourselves. Thank you, folks, for being here. As far as day trades for us, we still do have some time together, and I am still keeping an eye on Snapchat. Skyworks kind of, sort of as well. I don't have an exact trade right now because they're getting closer to the 50 on the 5. And so really I like to short them a little bit farther away. Snapchat is farther away from the 50 on the 5. And it kind of might be right at the perfect time. Let me see. So Zendesk actually did come right back to 71, 74. And it did flash that low. If you had 71, 74 as your entry and you got filled, congratulations. If you are in it, go ahead and possibly lock in a little bit of a gain, trail up your stop. Nice little trade on Zendesk if you took that long. Skyworks, again, we'll keep that on the list. NIO, up 7.3%. That's pretty. Take-Two Interactive and Activision, I guess they're just going to slowly keep sinking. Sky, I'm not going to trade Sky. Micron, hanging out. Shutterfly, did not roll over. PAYC, not going to trade it. CGC, broke bullish. And Z-Links is just an unstoppable train right now. So ZL, XL, and X, take that off the list. So really it'll be one of these four, if I, well, not NIO, maybe. But again, Snapchat, the 50 on the 5 is pretty close. I like that to be a little bit farther away when I'm trading it. This is the 15-minute chart. So really both Skyworks and Snapchat are doing pretty much the exact same pattern. So I don't think we're going to trade both. It'll be one or the other, and it'll be pretty much a coin flip. Feel free to watch it, keep a close eye on it, see if anything happens and what it does from here. Neil says he's going to grab some food. Take care. All right, buddy. You as well. Take care. So Skyworks. Again, for fades like this, I just want a little bit of buying to come in right before they break. And really, Snapchat did. Snapchat did post that bullish candle. I mean, that's almost exactly what I want. The challenge from here is just really the entry. Like if I do a stop, I'll do a limit higher. So for example, if I do a stop, I'll have to do a limit like 69 or 70. Mike says, do you have any thoughts on SONS going into earnings? I do not. I'm interested to see what this does. I mean, if it's going to gap up, if you're going to play this one, since it's kind of inexpensive, Mike, this one could be a decent strangle. A $15 February call is only 30 cents. So if it gaps above 14, that's going to be an absolute stormtrooper of a move. And you could probably do a $10 and $15 strangle. So 15 calls, the $10 puts. And if it gaps down, obviously exit the puts, and it most likely will fade, and then just the calls will probably end up expiring worthless. But if the thing gaps up above 14 on earnings, that thing's going to run. I will put it on the list, and we'll look at it this afternoon, and we can just kind of glance over and see what it actually is doing as earnings approaches. Spice says, looking for a bearish play on Snapchat. I am. Yep, I'm keeping an eye for a bearish move on Snapchat. Trying to determine exactly how I want to play it, because my thought is if it does this, I don't want to short it right there. I'd rather short on a pullback and then something like that. I'm just going to watch it for a little bit this afternoon. That and Skyworks as maybe fades. EA we can take off the list, and then NIO, I don't think we're going to get a shot at it. Just looks like it's going to slowly keep grinding. Although it's only up 8%, it is a retest gap, and it did fill this gap over here, so that's good. Here's the 15-minute chart, and again, this one has a lot of volume. It could continue to go higher. but I would still be interested in buying a pullback. I wouldn't just take a breakout since it is a retest gap. So NIO would look probably something like this with a stop loss down here. If you were going to get in on NIO, again, you're probably just going to buy a pullback. One of these three, feel free to keep your eyes on it. And if you have any trade that you like, you can throw it in Slack. But I think that's pretty much it for me. Tomorrow is Thursday. I will be back, obviously, from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Energy Wednesday. And then I will be at class 3 of hedging with options at 7 p.m. Eastern. Busy day. I love trading so much going on. Just absolutely jazzed. Team, you rock. Let me know if you need anything. I'm out. And until next time, love life, live life, and trade it. Bye.